wasn't really that yet tech savvy when it came to the web. And I gave the speech, and I had just set up my internet and my email, and somebody was watching it for me, and after I gave the speech, I said, did we get any response? And he said, well, you got 25,000 emails. Clean out the box, clean out the box. So, that led to an awareness that there was really a national interest in what I had to say.
And that was before you started running for president?
I was elected to the Congress in 96, re-elected in 98, 2000.
But when did you do that thing with the emails coming back in?
In February of 2002.
2002. And that, from that, I mean, did you want to run for president before that?
You know what, had I thought about it in my life, sure. But, you know, I didn't really, it's the kind of thing that it's such an enormous undertaking. And it requires that, you know, people might think about it, but you don't really seriously begin to do it because of just the enormity of it. So what I did was to find that there was this constituency out there across the country who felt, much like the people of Cleveland felt, that a whole range of issues.
You're a representative, so would you like or would you wish to move to becoming a senator? Is that a better position? Is that? But you said there's a money thing involved in raising money for that. So how does
let's first talk about the House. I mean, there's the last person to go from the House of Representatives to the presidency was James Garfield, who actually was born in this county, in what is now part of Moreland Hills. He was the last president born in Log Cabin. Anyhow, Garfield, that was, I think it was about in the 1880s, he went to the presidency from the House of Representatives. That hasn't happened since.
Lincoln was a representative at one term.
Right.
And when he got the Republican nomination, he was,
he wasn't a member of the House.
Of anything.
That's right. But what's happening with my career is that this congressional district that I represent is vital not only to the people in the 10th district, but there are people who recognize that the concerns of people back here in Cleveland are shared by people everywhere. So that's why, you know, we have a base of support that's pretty broad, but whether or not that leads to another office, I don't focus on that. I have an election in 2 days. I want to get elected to the House. That's why I'm glad you're all here.
I see that, but I'm still, okay, if I rephrase it a bit, I'm assuming you get re-elected back in because of your local work. You spent a lot of time on local work. You're telling people from other districts come in and say, can you help me? Because I don't seem to be getting help maybe in my district. Is the ability to move things, you know, talk about movers and shakers, is
their position and try to get favors and laws made to make sure that their position is not assailed.
Do you take donations from corporations? No.
Well, the corporations form political action committees, and they give the candidates. You know, it doesn't mean that everyone takes a contribution to CRUC, but what it means is that the amount of money that goes into a campaign, and corporations, you know, a political action committee can give $5,000. An individual can give $2,300. But if you're a representative of a corporation, you may have everybody, all your senior officers, give $2,300 to a certain candidate. And that's the way candidates receive huge sums of money to help in their campaign.
They can force all these people, or they give it.
They suggest that they do it. You know. but let me just tell you, a congressional race can cost, like a state like Ohio, could cost 15 to 20 million. You know, I mean, and so the question is, why does someone contribute to a candidate? Because in some cases, they just want good government. In other cases, they want a good contract. They want some kind of privilege.
So when you're running for the presidential election, aren't you in a really difficult position to start off with, because you don't want to take it from the campaign, these groups from corporations, and everyone else has got a ton of cash.
Right. Well, that's what I tried to do was to organize along issues, along peace, you know, post-war, healthcare. When it comes to the eve of a primary election, It's all about these TV ads and radio ads and newspaper ads and mailings, and it costs a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
So someone who has hundreds of thousands for a primary, one state, or millions, is at a great advantage. That's just the way it is. It doesn't have anything to do with the authenticity of what you stand for or the legitimacy of what you stand for. It has everything to do with who's got the money to put it up. Now, again, money isn't the only determinant. You know, there are people who have run masterful campaigns. They've had good people helping them, and they were able to get a great distance without an equivalent amount of money as, let's say, somebody who was the leading spender. But it is in American politics. Money is a very powerful factor. Just is. It's a fact.
Will you go again?
You know what? I didn't plan to run the last time. You know, let me tell you what happened. You might find this interesting. Because the Democrats took back the House of Representatives in 2006 on a promise. And we did it on a promise to end the war. We had a conversation with the Speaker-to-be and other Democratic leaders in October of 2006. That all the Democratic leaders are on this phone call. And we were told in advance of the election that the 2006 election was about three things: Iraq, Iraq, Iraq. That was it. The polls showed that Democrats were going to pick up huge numbers in the Congress. We're actually going to take the Congress back on the issue of Iraq. So that was good news at that point in October 2006, because what it indicated is that we're going to take a new direction. Well, in December, when we actually discussed at our organizational meeting, is that we're going to keep funding the war. And I went, wait a minute, you just told the people that if you vote Democrat, the war's going to end. How can you do this? And well, we want to protect the troops. I said, wait a minute, you protect the troops by breaking them apart. You protect the troops by spending money.
Keep it a minute. Yeah.
When I was in that meeting and I heard this, I walked out of that meeting and I said, you know what, I knew I was going to have to run again to try to bring the war forward as an issue again. And I think that even though, you know, I didn't make it past the early primaries, I think that one of the contributions I've been able to make in the last two runs is to be able to force those candidates who, you know, were able to get towards the final state elections, to force them to have to recognize the urgency of ending this war. So it did have a purpose. But what brought me into it to begin with was this sense of how wrong it was to go in to begin with, and how we had promised to end it. And I felt duty bound to say, wait a minute, you know, this is what we told the American people. We should keep our promises. And so what I essentially did was challenge my own party to keep its word to the American people.
So two questions on that. One is, why did the Democratic Party, seemingly having been voted in on pulling out of Iraq, decide to continue funding? And two, how would the Congress, because obviously, you know, the President is a Republican, how actually Congress would stop it? Just stop the funding, and therefore they have to come back because of that. That's the way of bringing them back.
Well, you know, that's the way the Vietnam War ended. Was the Congress just stopped the funding, and you know, you always have money in the pipeline to bring troops home so they can return safely. And what I did was, once the war started in 2002, I laid out a plan to bring the troops home, to end the war by you know, ending the occupation, closing the bases, bringing the troops home, setting in motion an international peacekeeping and security force made up of countries in the region that would come in as our troops leave. And you know, that was part of a broader plan that would end the war and transition America through